like the whole ideas around the bikini, what they coined the bikini industrial complex.
I love that part.
And the body, and I have been using that, those little notes a lot.
I'm interested. Can you explain?
Oh, they blow the whole BMI index out of the water.
Oh yeah, I know that one already.
Yeah, they did they share like some discrediting evidence on the BMI index.
Yeah.
Which I think we all were probably a little suspect on.
Is it true? Am I actually obese?
Am I morbidly obese?
I know.
Should I hospitalize myself?
I can what?
But
I beg to disagree.
Bikini industrial complex, just like the idea of how you know the powers that be profit off the body, ideas around the female body. And they coined it the bikini industrial complex.
Did you see that thing with the here we go with the spontaneous dance, whatever that's called?
Victoria's Secrets. I was gonna say the same thing. I love that.
Tell me about this.
No, tell us more. Yeah.
I don't know. Lindsay, you go.
It's I think she was an employee, of Victoria's Secrets, maybe. And she did a dance in front of a Victoria's Secrets, and it's something like, do you know Victoria's Secret? I know Victoria's Secret. It's run by a man, and like it's this whole like dance, and she sings this song, and it's really good. Look it up, or I'll put it in the show notes. But
basically saying what Leah's saying is the point of this chapter. Like, he makes us feel insecure so that this whole cycle thing is perpetuated or whatever.
Yeah, and so I've been using it's so much harder to do for yourself, but I started to do it when I see other people and my inner voice judges what they're wearing or how much skin they're showing or whatever. Any negative thoughts about another woman and the way they look, and then saying like they want their thing, it's calling it the new hotness. Like, well, she's the new hotness, and like really claiming what is sexy about another woman or yourself, as opposed to some magazine version. And I noticed that I've been doing it more when I notice when I'm doing it to another woman, obviously not out loud, but it made me really aware of that like, stop judging your sisters and stop judging yourself, more importantly.
I really like that.
Based on your little skin suit.
Totally.
Also, for me, I realized I had bias around, while I was reading that chapter, that I do have the bias and assumption that people that are obese are not as healthy. And it's like, no, that studies have shown that's not true. So for me, it wasn't so much, it was about they must be unhealthy. But it's not, that's not true at all. So that's the bias that I have to keep on like catching myself with, being like, they're not healthy,
I think too, I've been thinking about this lately, is like, it's pretty common for people to comment on how children look, as a compliment. And I notice it sometimes would be like, oh, somebody told my daughter, oh, you're so beautiful. And I was like, oh, like, I don't know. I felt like, don't comment about her body. But I think it starts really young, where if you have people have a tendency to comment on little girls' appearance a lot. And I mean boys too, but
it's more like, you're so brave, look at how strong you are. Like, it's gender.
And so I don't know, but it can be hard, right? Like, to stop that. But I think that's important too, because like, imagine being in a group and there's a whole bunch of kids, and one person looked at one kid and said, "You're so beautiful," or look at their eyes," or whatever it is. And it's like, what about all the other kids? They're gonna be like, "Oh, maybe I need to have beautiful eyes," or whatever. I don't even know. It's just surprising how many kids have like play makeup, but it's like real makeup, and they're wearing it and they're very young, right? Like, does a 6-year-old need to wear makeup? I don't know.
Does a 40-year-old need to wear makeup?
Totally. Right? It's starting younger though. Like when I was 6, I don't think anybody wore makeup. Like you might get like a lip chap that's got a little tint to it, and then you felt all like, ooh, I'm so dangerous.
Like we would like just inside the house, like getting into my mom's makeup and doing like blue eyeshadow all the way up here and being like, wow, look at that. You know?
Liza came to life. Look at me now.
Yeah, it's so true though, Mara. Don't you find like the commentary on youth, oftentimes I've wondered, I'm like, is this just symptomatic of conversationally society doesn't know? So we talk about the most obvious thing, like if your kid is tall, it's always, and look at how big you are. And if like your kid has like, it's like, I don't know, commentary tends to go to the most obvious physical thing.
But then the question is, should we be commenting about each other's bodies?
Yeah.
Right? And you know, sometimes, you know, your kid will see somebody in a store and they're like, look how tall that person is, look how small that person is, look how fat that person is, or whatever. And then what you say is, it's rude. Like everybody comes in different shapes and sizes, but it's rude to comment about somebody's body. And we'll say to our kids, it's rude to comment about somebody's body if they're outside of society's ideal weight or shape or look. But I think the message needs to be, it's rude to comment about somebody's body, period. Right? Like, oh, did you lose weight? Like, that's, I don't know, kind of rude, right? Or, because like, you're just telling people like, I notice your weight or whatever, right? Even if you're like,
I would like to now reward you by commenting on the fact that you've lost said weight.
Right. And then there's also the side where if you're with friends, sometimes it's nice when your friend's like, hey, I like your hair. So, you know, you can't get rid of it completely, but.
It's not human nature though, to like want to categorize people in different shapes, sizes, or blocks. You know what I mean? Like categorizing human nature that we just notice those things. And couldn't it possibly be like, if we just pretend it doesn't exist, isn't that bad too? Like, I don't know. Do you know what I mean? Like, yes, can't we just celebrate and say like, hey, it's great that you're tall and it's great that you're stuff, as opposed to just pretending that someone's not tall and not short, because we know that they're tall and short. No, I just like when someone's, you know, a different skin color than us, like we notice, we're not, you know, there was that whole era where we're like, oh, I don't see color, whereas, you know, I don't know. So I'm just
celebrating differences is good.
Yeah.
Squiggy mentioned it during the white fragility, I think that's when he was on, right? He was saying something about like, if you say like, if your son's like, so and so's fat or whatever, and then you say like, don't say that. It is like what you're saying, Lindsay, because it implies like it's shameful to be fat and we should pretend like we don't notice or whatever. It like increases gaps, or it reinforces,
you're basically saying that that there's something wrong with it when you're like, don't talk about it.
Right.
Yeah. But then you can say people come in all shapes and sizes.
Yes.
Some people are big,
and we don't need to place the value of a human based on physically what they're
showing. There is no more valuable than the other.
But also some people are tall and some people are shorter and some people are bigger and some people are skinnier and some people, you know.
Yes.
So I also think like just pretending that they're not, or saying we don't, you know, I don't know. That's just me. Like, I feel like I do notice when people look different than me, or their nose is smaller or their nose is bigger, you know, like you notice all those things because that's how you remember someone and that's how you connect with someone. And I don't know. So
yeah, the only thing that's wrong about it is placing a judgment on it. Like their nose is bigger. Haha, I'm better.
Right.
But do you think but do you think it's rude to comment on somebody's appearance if you don't know them? Like, I think about walking down the street and somebody's like commenting about how you look. Like, I'm sure this has happened to all of us. You're walking down the street and some stranger starts commenting about how you look.
It depends what the comment is, I guess.
Yeah.
Because if the comment like implies I know you in some way, like, oh, like your eyes are so beautiful, I bet you get all the boys. Then it's like, no, shut up, because you don't know me. And now you're saying that my eyes are better than somebody else's eyes or whatever.
And that like, they are used specifically to lure the gaze.
Yeah. I have to use milkshakes to get all the boys to my eye.
Yeah, maybe if it has judgment attached to it somehow. Or
like, I mean,
wants something back. Like somebody's like, hey, I like your sweater. It's like, oh, thanks, me too.
Yeah.
Or whatever, right? They're not trying to take your sweater or whatever.
Or are they?
I love your sweater. Give it to me.
Or if there's a preconception associated with what they're commenting on.
Yes, good one. Like if there's an unexpressed assumption.
To a bias. Yeah, if you know it's linked to a bias. So that comment makes you, it's like everyone mentioning and commenting on my kid's hair all the time, constantly.
That's why I'm saying, like, you don't know them. It can be maybe considered rude because you don't know what that person's hangups are. So maybe just
I tend to comment on things they're wearing, not on things that
they can't change.
Attached to them or growing out
right.
of them. Yeah. Yeah. Like I always am
got it.
Glasses. It's like the one thing I love glasses. I'm always like, I say it as much as I can when I see a pair of glasses. So like I would hate to not do that anymore. You can't take that away from me.
Yeah, and plus if somebody's wearing something cool, you want to be like, that's cool. I think
yeah, and also just because you say it's cool doesn't mean anything.
They're like,
you know what I mean?
I can't wear
it means you like it.
Would I
right?
comment on someone's skin tone? Ooh, you know what? I would. I do. I'm like, God, your skin is glowing today. Yeah. So you need to, and if someone says my skin looks amazing, but it's only really ever been like people that know me more intimately, I'm always like, thank you. That's the goal.
That's the goal.
That's why
Work
I
on
keep
it.
burning it with lasers. Yeah. So I do comment on people's attached parts, I guess. I do like a good nose comment. I'm very interested with people's noses. I love
really
noses are so different, and most people have a lot of nose shame. I've noticed over the years. They're
very
like,
common.
oh,
totally,
no,
more so than other body
no,
parts.
It's so cool. Yeah, it's one of my favorite things to draw. So many angles. Noses are great. So okay, I'm a liar. I comment on lots of shit.
I guess you can comment and I'm just thinking about it because say for all the things you're saying, what if it was the opposite, right? So you're like, okay, your skin is so great. You feel like that's okay to say, but what if someone had massive acne? Are you allowed to be like, wow, your skin and it's so greasy? What?
No.
I think
that's the judgment.
No.
It
negative
has to
judgment.
Be a positive or what I deem as a positive.
Then you're reinforcing, right? Yep. Then you're reinforcing the whatever is right. We know
I don't want to stop.
Yeah, is it you just have cultural ideals as well as subjective personal definitions of beauty?
Yeah, right. So maybe it is back to not commenting on people's appearance. But if a child comments on someone, I think the caution is don't reinforce the shame. If whatever if whoever they're commenting on, it's like, oh my God, we don't want to call we don't want to insult them because you're pointing out the thing that society has deemed is not okay about them. Right. You might be like, yes, that's true. What do you think about that?
Yeah.
Right.
Some
or whatever.
People are born without a arm or whatever. Right. And then the kids want to know, oh, that's very interesting. Yeah. So let's talk about that.
Yeah. And I mean, you can always super duper uncomfortable, but if it's within earshot, you can be like, would you like to ask them about that? And then the person might be like, fuck off. And you can be like, well, some people don't like talking about themselves to strangers. Anyway, back to groceries or whatever.
Kneeling down here talking like this to my child awkwardly.
Well, that's the thing is that if you're commenting to somebody's face, you're usually starting a connection. But if you're commenting about somebody and they're over there, then maybe that's something different.
That's different. Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
Also, I feel like a good test is if you want to say something and you follow it with, because I feel like anyone's reply could be like, and, right? Oh, I love your skin. And, right? Or your skin's so greasy. And what's the point? Why are we saying it? Maybe we should strive to connect on things that are not surface. What do you think about? Right? Maybe that's a better whatever. What do you think about
grocery store comments? That's a hard grocery store comment
conversation. But you know what? I'll still tell somebody.
What is saying to you lately
about this cucumber? What do you think about this cucumber?
You've got a lot to say.
You're like, I gotta get home and make
deli
dinner.
meat, the part-time deli meat guy is like, Do you want the bologna?
Yeah.
The grocery store has like lazy boy chairs or like little sitting area for people who need to talk about like the deep meaning of their t-shirts or whatever.
Yeah.
Tell me
Well,
what
yeah,
shirt
that's the
says
thing.
about
Like you can't see. Like that's when people comment about things they can see, because if it's to a stranger, you can't see what their beliefs and feelings and their favorite color and their whatever. You can't see that, just off the bat. So surface wise, that's all you can see is the surface. So that's why people comment on the surface.
So what you're
right?
saying is you agree that the grocery stores should have deep connections.
That's what I'm saying. Exactly.
Connection
exactly
centers.
what I'm saying.
I've never felt more understood, Kara.
We've got a little table with free samples there too.
Oh, then we'd be connecting all over.
Oh my
That's
God,
all
this
you need.
is great, guys. We're
I'm gonna start a grocery store.
I think there is. Didn't I see that no, I'm gonna be Kim now. Some thing
What it
about
feels
there
like.
was a library or not library, but somewhere where you could go and instead of check out a book, you'd go and have a conversation with somebody. So there'd be like say six
It's
people
like
sitting
human
there, and
libraries.
and you'd come and like sit down and have a 5-minute conversation or 10 or whatever, however long, and have like learn about their life and whatever, and then ask them questions, and then you'd move on to somebody else. I don't know. I gotta find it. I
think
am.
it's
Wow.
a Facebook meme. Like it's just did you know in Germany they have human libraries?
I saw it
Yeah.
somewhere.
And a person
too.
can check out another person. Instead of checking out a book, you can check out a person and you just sit down and talk to them. But be very risky. It's
Is it
very
real?
trafficking.
Yeah.
You can check out
I
a
know.
person. As long as you have them back in 2 weeks.
God.
Book interrupted.
So I'm doing the show notes for Burnout, and I'm kind of typing over and over Emily and Amelia Nagoski. And then it occurred to me that Emily and Amelia are very similar names. And then I thought, because they're twins, I wonder if their parents named them that because they were similar. I guess I could look that up. But anyways, so I looked up the names to see if they were roots of one another. And Amelia is Germanic and Emily is Latin. So they're not actually roots of each other, but I feel like sometimes they're interchangeable. Anyways, so I wonder if their parents had a bit of a sense of humor of like naming them that because they're so close. I don't know, I'm interrupted with wondering.
Book interrupted.
I like to have like chit chat with
Creepy.
people, like strangers, while I'm going about my day. And sometimes, let me see, I was on a bus in Vancouver because our flight was delayed by 24 hours. And so we had an extra day in Vancouver. And I just made some comment about construction because the guy seemed to be upset about the construction. I was like, oh yeah, whatever. And then he started going into these big conspiracy theories all of a sudden. I was like, back away. And I'm sitting by this guy on the bus. And he's going off about, whoever's taken over Vancouver and they're paying for the construction. I was like, wait, these people you're angry at are fixing the roads? Like, great.
It don't sound so bad.
That sounds great. Or whatever. But I was like, do you ever
They're gonna fix
start a
nuts.
little conversation and then you get in and you're like, I don't want to be in this conversation anymore. How do I back out? Right? Like say as
Right,
little as
especially if you're
possible.
on a bus, the only obvious move is that you get up and walk up the aisle and sit somewhere else,
Just, like pick up your book.
Yeah.
and
Or
open it.
spontaneous sleeping.
Yeah.
Oh, that's interesting.
Never happens to me ever. Never happens to me. This happens to my husband all the time. And I'm always just like, dude, you don't have to listen to anything. Just get your headphones out and put them in.
Oh no,
That
it
tells
happens
them that
all
you're
the
done.
time.
I know it doesn't
Yeah.
necessarily. You would think this also tells people you're
some
not
people,
available.
yeah, some people are full.
Yeah.
What you reading?
Fair.
I think it's
Totally.
obvious. Is it good? Not anymore. Like you've ruined it.
Totally.
In Toronto, people don't
I
talk to
never
each
chat
other,
with
so it's
strangers.
okay.
Hey.
I love that.
In Toronto,
I love
they're
that.
very
Don't talk.
good. Yeah, at picking up on the social cues. Like the book in front of face means don't disturb.
If you've enjoyed these video highlights, listen to the full episode on our YouTube channel or wherever you get your podcasts. Remember to like and subscribe and ring that bell to be notified when new episodes are published. Find out more by going to www.bookinterrupted.com.
Never forget, every child matters.